Ya Baladi, You Are Beautiful, My Country by Dalida. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. We're live on the ground in Cairo in Tahrir Square with our senior producer, Democracy Now!'s Sharif Abdel-Quddus. We're also joined by Noha Radwan, assistant professor of comparative literature at the University of California-Davis, who is currently taking part in the protests in Tahrir Square. She joined us yesterday with Sharif in studio. Noha, describe what happened when you left the studio.
Hi. What happened is I left the studio with Sharif and your camera person, Jackie, and they were stopped at the Ramses Hilton and had to stay inside the hotel. I actually moved towards the square, and as I approached, I could see the thugs, the Mubarak mob, but I totally underestimated what they're capable of doing. They asked me why I was trying to get into the square. I said I had friends and relatives who were injured and I'm just checking on them. But then the big question came, are you pro-Mubarak or anti-Mubarak? And I didn't want to answer the question. I just left the person who was asking the question and tried to get in. 2-3 meters later, somebody caught on to the fact that I was trying to get in anyway. And then they yelled to the mob, she's with them, get her. And I found two big guys who came in and held onto my arms and took me out, and they kind of handed me onto a mob that started beating me and pulling my hair. They ripped my shirt off. They ripped a gold necklace. If you see the recording from yesterday, you'll see that I was wearing a very close to the neck, kind of big necklace. So in ripping this, they actually injured the neck. Through all the beating, I had to get a couple of stitches to the head yesterday. I'm fine now, and I actually really wanted to give this report as a minor, first-hand testimony to what is happening. What has happened to others is a lot more. We have seen people get hit by the stones thrown in by the mobs, and they have lost their eyes. There are people with concussions. I was taken in an ambulance much later to a hospital where I had to spend most of the night because there was no way of getting out. The mob is really singling us out. The worst part of it is that the Egyptian media has been broadcasting nonstop that we are infiltrators, that we are foreign paid, that most of the people in Tahrir are not actually real Egyptians. They are, paid by foreigners outside. There have been reports about a Belgian who was caught and turned out to be a spy, Israelis who were caught in the demonstration, and so on and so forth.
Speaking of being caught, Sharif, the reports of the number of pro-Mubarak forces that have been captured by anti-Mubarak forces, the protesters in the square. The Guardian has something like 120 IDs of police. What do you know about this? And as you were reporting, Juan, the busloads of these pro-Mubarak forces being shipping them in.
Yeah, the New York Times, Sharif, is reporting that they were bussed in systematically throughout the day, apparently, obviously by the government. Who else would pay for all those buses?
That's right. I mean, there's no question who these people were who attacked last night. I have seen myself at least 4 police IDs. People say they grabbed, as you know, on the ground it's difficult to get numbers. I get between dozens and hundreds of them, and they say that 90% of them had some sort of ID that linked them to the police or state and central security forces. They say many of them are Baltagaya, just these kind of these thugs that the Mubarak regime has used for many years. And let me just say also that I watched as they arrested a policeman in uniform today, 2 policemen in uniform, and in stark contrast to the way that they beat the members of the popular uprising here, like Noha Radwan and others. They arrested this man very peacefully. They just held him stiffly and put him into an army tank. And so the difference is very clear. And let me just just add, I was devastated to hear that Professor Radwan came under attack. We left the hotel maybe 20 minutes after her. We tried to re-enter Tahrir Square. These mobs are very intimidating. They're very hostile. They're men mostly. They range from about 20 to 45 years old. They wear sweaters and thick leather jackets, and they were basically holding a mini riot at every entrance into Tahrir, preventing anyone from going in. We tried to force our way in. Hani, Jackie, and I, we held each other and tried to go through, but we were on the verge of being beaten ourselves, and we backed off and then had to go home, and we were unable to go inside. It was a very dark day in this struggle, but the people are very proud here in Tahrir that they held their ground under this brutal assault, and to this day they remain defiant, and it remains to be seen what will happen tomorrow, but I think it'll be a decisive day in this struggle.
And Noha Radwan, I'd like to ask you about what I asked Sharif, the role of the military, because obviously many of the protesters at first felt that the military was on their side. Your assessment now after what happened in the past 24 hours?
Can I answer that question?
Yes.
I was actually saved by the military. I was going to practically die on the street had it not been for the fact that some very low-ranking army officer, and I cannot give any more details than that, actually asked his soldiers to pick me up and put me inside the tank, and where I stayed until it got dark, and then they called an ambulance for me to get out in the ambulance and go straight to a hospital. The mob outside were really calling for my head. As a traitor, an American-paid Baradei supporter.
Amy, I had just ducked into a stairwell to talk to you. I'm back on the roof right now. There's some kind of fire bombs thrown back and forth. You can hear, I don't know if you can hear them exploding in the background. There's smoke coming. They're coming in the air, and there's just tons of rocks from the ground. It's unclear where they are coming from, but they seem to be coming largely from the pro-Mubarak forces.
Sharif, where are you in relation in Tahrir Square? What area are you looking on it from? And be very careful. Don't be on the phone if you're in any danger.
I'm on a rooftop that is near the museum, that is overlooking near the Hilton Hotel and where we were staying near the studio, and I can see it's right on the 6th of October bridge. Flashes are breaking out right now on the 6th of October bridge. There's a lot of rock throwing. People are advancing forward now. This is really the front line of the struggle between the pro-democracy movement and the Mubarak regime, and it remains to be seen what will happen next. But right now the battle is raging.
Sharif, we have unconfirmed reports, but tweeted by various journalists on Twitter, that Shahira Amin resigned from Nile TV, citing her inability to lie any longer. Nile TV is state TV. The significance, and describe what you're seeing now. Just tell us what's happening.
I don't know about her resignation. I know a lot of people have come up to me, and anytime we kind of when we're filming, they say make sure you film the reality of this. They're very aware of the propaganda of the state TV, and the state TV keeps filming Tahrir Square, filming these empty spaces to try and show that there's hardly anyone there, when in fact there are tens of thousands there. But they do not show the brutal assault that they came under, and so they know the state TV and the bias that it has. If someone resigned, and I've heard of other resignations, not sure if it's from Nile TV, but right now again I'm standing on this roof. And basically what it is from the main square, there's a big street that runs next to the museum, and the people have created 3 lines of barricades with burnt-out trucks to form barriers. They've also torn corrugated iron from a construction site, and they're using that to barricade themselves as well, and use it as shields under the shower of rocks that keep flying over. And so they have fortified themselves here after the the assault yesterday, and they're ready to defend Tahrir Square, Liberation Square, they say, until liberation.
Sharif, I know it's difficult with the events you're seeing right now unfold before you, but I'd like to ask you a little bit in terms of, have you seen any evidence of involvement of the Egyptian labor movement in any of these protests? I'm not talking about the official labor organizations that the government basically sponsors, but there has been over the last few years a very strong independent labor movement in Egypt. One report that I saw recently said that there have been over 3,000 actions by Egyptian workers since 2004 involving more than 2 million people. One historian called it the largest social movement in the Arab world that has gone largely unreported. Do you have any sense of whether the masses of Egyptian workers, in one way or another, are poised maybe to act on Friday or in the coming days in any kind of organized form?
I would say that the labor movement has been extremely important in this struggle. I think this popular uprising really started to gain strength a few years ago during the strike in Mahalla, which is the site of the biggest textile factory in the Middle East. I think it's something like 30,000 to 40,000 workers. They held a strike, and they were brutally cracked down upon by the Mubarak regime. And after that, the uprising, many believe that's when it started. Demonstrations started in bigger numbers, and this uprising that started a week ago was really led by the youth movement, and one of the youth movements that helped organize it on Facebook calls itself the April 6th Youth Movement. That is the date of that strike, and so the labor movement is very important to this. It's hard to say how many of them are here